Welcome to the Media Row podcast with me, Justin Miller. Really fun way to wrap up today's show, an informative way to wrap up this week's show is having the head of the Do Great Collective, which is the NIL collective, of course, at Drake University. The head of it is Ryan Boatman. We've had him on the show before, and now with everything with the NCAA ruling, how do you prepare for something you can't prepare for? How do you move forward as a smaller NIL collective? What does this mean for the future of the NIL? All those questions will get answered. We also have some really cool, fun fan stuff for Drake fans to come and have an event with that involves Do Great. So Ryan will talk about that. We just have a lot to get to, and I can't wait to share this interview with you. Ryan is someone who, after we had him on once, definitely someone that I can reach out to at any moment, and is someone that is always willing to try to work around the busy schedules to hop on and talk, of course, about the Do Great Collective. So we'll get to that, but first, need to give a shout out, of course, to Kelly's Little Nipper at 1701 East Grand Avenue in Des Moines. Historical Kelly's Little Nipper. I mean, we've said it 1,000 times. The three main reasons you go: great food, great drink, better community. They were the number one sponsor in terms of that bar and great atmosphere that I wanted to get involved with. Awesome that they were wanting to get involved with a upstarting podcast from the ground and constantly getting help from Jeff, the owner, of how to build this into something bigger. So just great people all around over at Kelly's Little Nipper. You can see on their Facebook posts that they just like to have fun. They're good people. They have great deals throughout the week. If you watch one of the Facebook videos earlier this week, they had a great deal on their sandwiches, and they had a funny way of announcing that. So go check it out. Great people over at Kelly's Little Nipper. But we have our winners for the Iowa Barnstormer tickets. Yes, so thank you again to everyone that sent the email, sent the tweets out. Love having everyone be involved. But yes, we did get our two winners for the Iowa Barnstormers tickets. Hopefully that won't be the last time Kelly's Little Nipper hooks us up with some cool gifts for you, the Media Row listeners. But enough of me talking. Go check out Kelly's Little Nipper for yourself, 1701 East Grand Avenue in Des Moines. When you go, though, make sure to let them know that Media Row sent you. So, Ryan, I think the first question for you as the head of the Do Great Collective is just, how do you prepare now going forward for stuff that you can't prepare for? You don't know what's happening next.
Yeah, it's a ever-changing landscape. So I think we just kind of focus on our job and our role as the collective, and we kind of march forward as if nothing's changed until we're told otherwise. And if and when that day comes, we'll be ready for that. But for the time being, we've just got to, I mean, we still have, relationships with the community, our nonprofit partners, our student athletes, and, it's our duty to kind of uphold that partnership, that we had agreed to when we founded the organization.
So how was this week for you? How did you hear about the news? What was your reaction to hearing about last Friday's news with the NCAA ruling? Just kind of take me through what happened when you heard everything.
Yeah, we were, as I don't know, 7:30, 8 o'clock maybe, sitting around, and my phone buzzed, and yeah, it was Judge Wilkins' decision coming down. And I think my phone rang off the hook until, 10:30 that night, and then all weekend long. And it was just a lot of reading, kind of seeing, you know, what the new, the various caveats and nuances, within the opinion. And there's still so much more to come out. I think there's an FAQ that's supposed to come out from the NCAA. I haven't seen it yet. I thought it was maybe going to drop by the end of this week. So hopefully that will resolve a few lingering questions that we have. but yeah, it's just been a lot of reading and then a lot of reading of other people's, kind of analysis of it and I mean it's going to change college athletics forever. We definitely want to make sure we understand the opinion and know the ramifications of it before we make any decisions.
Is your first phone call to Brian Harden? Is that who you call first?
I talked to Brian a little bit. I don't think it was the first phone call. I think the the first phone call was that somebody else on the board called me and we had just kind of chatted through, how does this impact us? Does it impact us? What does that look like? But yeah, I've spoken with Brian several times. We're gonna have to be, kind of coordinated together no matter what happens. We'll have to kind of, be in constant communication until we ultimately arrive at our decision, or he arrives at his decision and then we go along with it.
And just like when you hear that news, and with being a smaller NIL collective, is there a sense of, are you nervous? Are you stressed? Or is it just kind of rolling with the punches? I know I heard Brian Harden talk about it, and Jackson on my show talked about, this isn't something that completely caught people off guard. This is stuff that you prepare for it the best you could. So is there a sense of nervousness or just rolling with the punches?
I think any time that there's, something new or there's change, I think uh, anxiety can kind of follow that. And so I think it's more of a sense of like focus, like we have to get this right. And so it's just been a lot of, trying to digest it and reading through everything. Yeah, like you said, we knew that an opinion was going to come down, and we had a pretty good idea of what it was going to be, but it was still a 76-page opinion. So there's quite a,
It's not a
quite,
skim read.
no, no. And so, like I said, I think a sense of focus, a sense of, like we've got to get this right. That kind of that's what overcame me over the weekend. So
What has the collective done, though, in preparation that makes you feel confident that, yes, even though this is an ever changing landscape and college athletics changes, I feel like every hour of every day,
sure.
what gives you the confidence that the Do Great collective will be just fine and still be
I,
competitive?
I don't I don't know if it's anything that we've done as a collective. I think it's more of the relationships that we've built, with Hendo now and the athletic department as a whole. At the end of the day, we're fans of the program too. So, and we all want it to succeed. And so I think we're all kind of rowing in the same direction. And I think, with Brian at the helm, I think we're going to be, no matter what, we're going to be in good shape. So, I've got, just the utmost confidence in him. So,
You brought up, forming relationships with Hendo. And yeah, I mean, the last time we spoke, I don't think the McCollum news had broke and, the roster had changed as drastically as it did. So now as a collective, just how did the Do Great collective start now preparing for next fall and winter of starting to get those connections built so that you do have a successful run with the roster and start providing these athletes with some great opportunities?
sure. It was kind of unique because, we were preparing for our end of year banquet. We celebrate a pretty special season.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we had to get to know Eric and his staff and kind of see what his vision of the program was. And so it was a lot there. The couple weeks, April 1st up to the banquet was on the 15th. And so between getting to know him and then, trying to make our end of year banquet, as special as it deserved to be. It took a lot of coordination. I will say that, coach and the staff, they had a pretty clear vision of what they wanted the program to look like, and that makes our job pretty easy. And so yeah, I mean, it's been awesome to get to know Eric and the staff. We've got a really special staff, and I'm excited to see what they'll do. And I got to meet I got to meet all the players, the new guys on the roster this year. I got to meet them a couple of Sundays ago, and it was awesome. They're going to make Des Moines and Drake pretty proud. So I look forward to seeing what how the year goes and how they make their mark on Des Moines.
Yeah, it's funny over at the part-time gig that I have for the summer over at Grandview Golf Course. Everyone always walks up to me and is like, "So what do you think of Eric? What do you think of Coach Hendo?" And right away I'm like, "He's been nothing but great to me, came on the show, spoke with me one-on-one after his initial press conference." And I was like, he still has a lot of work to do, of course, to put a team on the court. But man, he's saying all the right things. He's doing everything right. And he just seems like such an easy person to cheer for. And so now, when you look at the three main sports at Drake, Woodley, easy to cheer for. Pullman, not only is the success awesome to cheer for, but her as a person is easy to cheer for. And now it seems like Hardin knocked one out of the park again personality wise with Hendo. And it's just been really cool to see as a fan.
Yeah, it's easy to figure out how he's been so successful. He's
Yeah.
he's a dynamic person, and it's been a joy. So
So with these NIL collectives, I remember when I was working with iHeart, speaking with Brent Bloom with the Iowa State collective, and he talked about, like this wasn't something he was hoping to do for years on end because he's hoping decisions start happening that make this easier for student athletes where NILs don't have to be around. And so this is a weird question to ask the president of a collective, but honestly, is this the start of NILs not having to be the main source? Is this the end of NIL basically? How do you look at this news?
well, I think NIL is always going to exist in one form or fashion. Since student athletes have been, allowed to make money off of their name, image, and likeness, that's going to continue to happen no matter, what happens through rev share. The big change now is if you opt in, every NIL deal has to go through NIL Go, the clearinghouse. And so it needs to be fair market value, which, I'm confident that, if that's where we're headed and we have those type of deals, we'll be compliant. I mean, that's our job as the collective. And so we'll continue to kind of monitor that and see what that looks like. As for um, you know, student athletes being approached by businesses and other entities in the community, that's going to continue to happen. And that's their right now, is to make money off of their name, image, and likeness. The what I think you're alluding to is the rev share piece, and how
Yeah.
does that impact Drake? And I think we're still TBD on that. I know that the athletic department is evaluating all of that. I'm not sure what their decision is going to be ultimately, but um, as for collectives, I think you've got across the landscape of college athletics. I think you've got people or schools that will be able to fund up to the cap, the $20.5 million revenue cap, and then they're going to try to, keep their collectives around to sweeten the pot, if you will, and we'll see how those deals progress through the clearinghouse. I honestly don't know what that looks like yet. I'm hoping to get a little clarity on that through the FAQ that the NCAA is going to put out. But yeah, I think there's just still a lot of unknown there.
And with you mentioned the fair market value. I asked Jeff Jackson this. Just what does that term really mean? What does that look like for a collective? Because you hear that tossed around a lot, but I don't think people always explain exactly what it means.
Yeah, I'm an accountant by day, so
Perfect question then for you.
fair market value to me might be different than what the NCAA ultimately determines. Fair market value to me is what is the price that people are willing to pay to secure a good or a service. And so um, that's my understanding of it. I don't know, I'm hoping that the FAQ, like I said, provides us, maybe some more specific, guardrails and definitions around that. I'm just not sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, the way I look at it is, what is a third party willing to pay for this?
Okay. Okay.
And whatever that number is the fair market value. Think of it as like you have a used car
Hmm.
and you go to Kelly Blue Book, right? And it says your car is worth this. That is kind of how I determine fair market value
Gotcha.
in that sense. So I don't know if there's going to be a database like that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
And, talking about this FAQ that we're waiting for, which it's the NCAA, I don't think either of us would be surprised if they just do a news dump late Friday like they did with
Yeah.
last week. But so of course that's the next step is waiting for that. But are you forecasting then kind of what is next for Do Great after that FAQ? I know you can't speak to much because that hasn't come out, but just are you starting to do the building blocks of what's next on the horizon for the collective?
Yeah, um, I think we've evaluated a couple of different options and pathways for us. Obviously we'll have a board meeting shortly after the FAQ comes down, and we'll give our board members a chance to read and digest it, and then we'll get together and kind of determine what's best for the Do Great Collective, what's best for our student athletes, what's best for our community partners, and what's best for Drake. And so those are our ultimate stakeholders in this, and so we've got to make sure that we're representing them accordingly.
But in a way, with Drake being so small, and like you've mentioned, the connections are there, and it seems like people are really excited about this team, even with the roster overchange that we just saw. So, I mean, yes, there is a sense of you got to be prepared. There may be a little bit of nerves, but there is that sense of confidence of like, these are people that have been with us. This is a
Yeah,
close knit. Is that a benefit of having a smaller college, smaller collective?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. It's nothing for me to pick up the phone and to call, any one of the people that I need to talk to. And we're in each other's lives. And in Brian's case, I know Brian pretty well. I've gotten to know him pretty well over the last few years. And so yeah, I think it does help. I think um, it's nice to have at least some consistency with, the constant change that we're seeing across college athletics. It helps when some of that, when you have some change and then people like Eric walk into the building, it makes it a lot easier. We've gotten to know Allison really well over the last several years, and she's a joy to work with. I mean, it's just, yeah, I think that whole section of the Knapp Center is great. All the coaching staff, obviously working with Brian, it makes it really easy.
You just bring up Pullman and Hendo again, and I can't wait, with the Hoops Fest. I mean, their hype, it's gonna be which one can get the crowd the most hype out of those two. They both have that infectious attitude. And it was funny because love Darren DeVries, did a lot of great things for Drake. but was very kind of reserved. And same with McCollum, did a lot of great things and was awesome to all of us reporters, but was very reserved. Hendo feels like an open book to a
Yeah.
sense, or the most a coach could be. So that's what excites me selfishly as a reporter too. But just I mean, you again, this collective, it feels like it is in a golden era to really be a part with Drake Athletics, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think Kyle Mertz did a great job of getting the ball rolling, and yeah, we've done what we can to kind of sustain, all the hard work that he put in, and it helps when, the programs had quite a bit of success on the men and the women's side, and so and it makes it fun too. So it's easier for us to tell the story when we have good guys and good gals, and we've been successful. It makes it fun, and it makes it easy.
And I mean, crowds are just flowing into the Nap Center to watch these teams. It's been awesome because growing up a Drake fan, there'd be games, it was felt like just my dad and I were there, and
I
now
know.
it's getting packed and it's awesome to see. And I've had buddies who are like, man, is it kind of pissing you off that like you're covering Drake and it now seems like everybody's talking about Drake? It's like, no, because in high school and like junior high, I would talk about Drake and it felt like people would kind of pat me on the head, like, oh, that's cool. And now it's like, no, we just won an NCAA tournament game. We were right there with Texas Tech, and you get to
Right.
list the accolades. And so it's a great time. But with that roster over change, a new head coach, the Do Great Collective has a great opportunity though for fans coming up this summer to be able to go out and meet the roster, correct?
Yeah, we're gonna have a meet the team event June 24th. I think that's a Tuesday night.
Yep.
Uh, out at the out at the iCubs, and we've got the right field kind of party deck area
Yeah. Yep.
reserved, and so for $25 you get a ticket to the game, you get dinner and drink, and you get to meet Hendo and the staff, and Allison and her staff, and then members of the men's and women's team. Should be good. They'll be signing autographs, and it'll be a fun night.
That's
So
awesome.
we should have registration up on our social media channels, and maybe our website here. If not, there was an email that got sent out to anybody that's ever interacted with the collective that has the registration landing page and stuff like that. So, and if you want to register and you can't seem to find the link, you can just email me at my personal email, ryanboatman13@gmail.com, and I can get you registered. So look forward to seeing everybody out at the iCubs and get to meet the staffs and the guys and the gals, and it'll be fun.
So, how does that work for the athletes? Is that one they're like I don't know how to phrase this. Is that part of in their contract of go to this and do they get paid for this? Is that part of one their duties with being involved with Do Great?
Yeah, so the contracts are really developed more so for our charitable partners. So you think of
Okay.
Boys and Girls Club,
Yeah.
Blind Children's Hospital, YSS. We do have them, you know, this is part of, yeah, if they're gonna if they're gonna fulfill their entire contract, they need to come to things like this as
Hmm.
well. But this doesn't count as like one of their volunteer opportunities, if you will. Um,
Gotcha.
when we brought it up, everybody seemed pretty excited to go. So I don't think
I mean, I don't see
we're
how
gonna.
you could get mad about going to a baseball game. I mean,
Right,
hell yeah. If I'm a
right,
college athlete.
right. So should be fun. Should be fun. I know we've got several people registered already. Last year, I think we had a little over 100 folks come out. So and I would expect it to be a larger group this year. So
That's great. That is awesome. Well, Ryan, again, thank you so much for doing this for me. I know your schedule is crazy, and for you to be able to work around and find time to join me means a lot. So I appreciate it.
yep, happy to hop on anytime.
And next time you don't have to scarf down your dinner. You can actually wait, and it's not that important, but I appreciate
Yeah, no,
it.
no, thanks.
All right, Ryan, I appreciate it. I'll be annoying you more often, I'm sure, here coming up.
Yep, yep. You can have me on anytime. We'll be in touch.
Hopping on today, really informative week, real tail end of the week with the NCAA ruling. We heard it from the Missouri Valley Conference Commissioner and Jeff Jackson. Huge thank you to him for working around his schedule to make that work. Ryan Boatman, of course, taking it from the NIL side of things. And then we had some fun on Monday with the head coach of the Iowa Barnstormers and Coach Morganson. So thank you to all of our guests this week. Next week's going to be really fun too. We're kicking off, as you may have seen, Drake is going to be playing in a really fun college basketball tournament during that Thanksgiving break time. They're going to be going up against good teams. LSU is their first team they're going up against. And we're going to talk to the person that sets that all up in Murray Hanks. And he's also someone who's spent years as an NBA scout. So we'll probably talk some NBA finals with him as well. He's also the guy that set up the Iowa Bucknell game in Des Moines too, and has done a bunch of other things. So that one's going to be really fun. You don't want to miss it come Monday. But before we wrap up this week of exciting shows, need to give a shout out to Stevens Automotive and Sales. Just got my car back. Quick, easy, always easy and painless going over there to Stevens Automotive. So go check it out for yourself, 5320 Northwest Beaver Drive in Johnston, Iowa. 35 years of family owned and operated. They are always communicating. I mean, I got a bunch of calls just updating me on my car, letting me know what needs to be looked at down the road to make sure that it stays ready to go and keeps me safe on the road as well. And then no BS from those guys at Stevens Automotive, which I always appreciate. So go check it out for yourself. 35 years of family owned and operated here in the state of Iowa. Stevens Automotive and Sales, 5320 Northwest Beaver Drive in Johnston, Iowa. When you go to Stevens Automotive, make sure to let them know that Media Row sent you. A fun week of shows next week already getting planned out, so don't want to miss it. We will see you next week on the Media Row podcast with me, Justin Miller, sponsored by Kelly's Little Nipper and Stevens Automotive and Sales.